For today, we're going to learn how to record all of the cool stuff that we make in Max, and we'll record it in a couple of ways. Let's record it in Max using the Max recording tools, and then let's also send the audio out of Max to some other program that we can use to record the audio. I'll show you the example of the method I'm using for recording these videos, and then I'll show you a couple other examples using the same tools, but allowing you to record into like a DAW or something of that nature. All right, let's get started here. We have the patch from yesterday or a couple days ago where we make a little bit of a noise and it creates. Oh, I gotta make a little noise with a keyboard controlled synthesizer, and it goes through some delays and transposition, and all sorts of lovely things happen. I've got the whole thing turned off right now. All right, so we have a rather rich noise, and now we're like, let's record this because I would like to sample this, chop this up, do cool things with it. But in order to do that, I need to get it out of Max. Right now, it's like just a synthesizer effects patch. And other than going out of the audio output, there's not much I can do with it. So let's start with the basics. First, we're going to put a toggle here so I can turn off my synth a little easier. That way, when I'm typing things, we're not constantly hearing weird sound effects and whatnot. All right, so the first one we'll grab is sound file record. And this takes a couple extra buttons to make it function. We need a start-stop button of some sort. So I'm just using a toggle. And then we need to open a file into which to record. So we'll get the message, and we'll type open. Oops, I'll just type message, open. And this will open a file dialog, and will let us just say, okay, I want to record this file in a certain location. And where do we want to grab the file? I want to grab it before or after the volume. I want to grab it after the volume in case I am clipping or sending too much intensity into the thing. I don't want to record it and then find out after making the recording that I've totally clipped out my recording. So let's go ahead and open a sound recording. It comes with a default name, so we're just going to give it some name for now. I like to try to name things after what's going on. Spooky feedbacking dinosaur, something of this nature. It's not really a great title, but it's better than untitled or wacky sound. All right, so we opened it. Now we can start the recording, and now we can turn my patch back on and make terrible, wonderful noises. There we go. Made a little short performance and recorded it as a sound file. All right, so now let's go figure out where that sound file went. Now I happen to record the sound file into the same folder in which this patch is located. So if I command click on the patch, I can just go right to it. And that's kind of convenient because then I don't need to go digging around for things. So I'm on Mac OS at the moment, so I can actually just hit the space bar. Come on. I can hit the space bar and preview the sound. So let me check my audio output. You're not going to hear that playback. Okay. I'm going to make my audio output of my computer the same output that goes to the recording console, and hopefully this will still play through. Maybe not. Well, maybe you'll just take my word for it. I've recorded the audio file, and there's sound in there. But what if we want to see the audio file as it's recording? There is a way to do that. Because, you know, like when you're working in a DAW, you can kind of see the progression of the sound file. With SF Record, there's a little bit of tiny bit of a leap of faith that it's being recorded. So that can be a tiny bit stressful if you're recording and you're like, is my recording being recorded? I don't know. All right. For this, we're going to shut my synth off again. We're going to use the record tilde object. Now, record tilde requires a lot of things in order to function. SF Record required 2 things added to it to function, you know, opening the file, starting and stopping it. This guy needs a bunch of stuff. One, it takes arguments. We need to connect it to the thing where it's recording, because it records into a buffer. So let's get into that. We're going to create a buffer, and the buffer, let's see here, how do we get it to, let's just open up the help file, because it takes arguments like the file name, and we need to give it a length in milliseconds. So that's going to take us a few minutes to type out. Let's keep this recording short, so we're going to call this my recording or something like that. That's not the file name, it's just we're naming the buffer, so that record tilde can reference where it's recording to. My recording, and we're going to record something that's, let's say 16 seconds long, so 16,000 milliseconds. I might have an argument missing. I feel like there's an argument for channel, and I am forgetting how to do that. Where's the argument? Name, buffer name, file name, duration, channels. So channels is after duration. Good. I didn't do anything crazy. All right, so now we take record, and we need to reference, record my recording. I like Camel Case. It's a little easier for me to read, and I've heard that screen readers will read them as separate words. So if you have anyone who's visually impaired, trying to read through your patches, if you Camel Case your code, they might have a better time. Let's see. I'm going to keep it over on the side so it's not my face doesn't block your view of the recording here. All right. So the next things I need are, here we go. Record channel 1, start and stop. So we just need the on/off button, and then I would like we were saying before, to be able to see the recording happen. I want to see the waveform of the audio as it's being recorded, so I know it's going into the buffer. So there is an object in Max called waveform. We'll go ahead and make this large enough to see, hopefully. All right, so the waveform object, just like record and buffer, it needs to refer to a buffer name. So we need to go in here and find the old reference, which sometimes let's go to basics. Buffer object name, cap locks, my recording. All right, so now you'll see that it's referring to something, because if you can see, it's really, let me zoom in. It's really faint, but we now have some time markers on here. You can see the 4 seconds, 6 seconds, 8 seconds, and our total buffer is 16 seconds. So if it were any longer, you'd see 16 over this edge here. All right, cool. So we know it's, sorry, let me zoom so we can see stuff. We know that this buffer is this waveform is referring to the buffer that is 16 seconds long, which is my recording. Great. Now let's do the same thing, and we're going to route some audio into this guy. Now our patches are getting messy. In fact, it's getting messy enough. I actually am starting to get sick of all these patch cords. So I'm going to introduce a new object. I would like to use send out. Sorry, let me just clean up that layout a tiny bit. Send out and receive. I before E except up to C, receive out. So now this guy, rather than sending a cable, I'm going out of the volume control into the send out and into the receive out. So out is the label which links the two send receives. Alrighty, so now we should be able to make some noise. Unless I'm forgetting something, this will record. All right, so let's turn our sys back on to 0.5. The volume. My patch is locked, so it won't generate a bunch of noise in terms of objects appearing on screen. Let's make a ruckus. That is starting to look like it might be clipped a little bit. So this is a good test for us. So now we can see the audio right away, and we can know, we might have a little bit of a clipping situation. And since I don't want to change the volume per se for the output that's going to the recording, because that's getting kind of compressed down a little bit anyway, and the clipping is maybe not happening so much, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just reduce the volume by half and see if we can. Now you'll notice that once I restart the DSP, when I've connected and disconnected an object, it starts recording because the record button is engaged. So I'm recording over anything that was already in that buffer, which is kind of a bummer. All right, so let's go ahead and make another 16 seconds of ruckus. I'm going to start the recording. I'm looking for the, it's going to start from the beginning. That's cool. Let's get my volume up to 0.5. I'm just going to wait for the recording to get to the end of the buffer so I can start from a blank buffer. And actually, I'm going to start recording, then make sound this time. And then I'm going to stop the recording. And now I have a complete performance recorded into the waveform. It looks like we were able to record without much clipping. And now I want to get that recording that is in a buffer. It's a volatile memory. It's going to go away very easily. I want to get that recording out of Max and into a file. So for that, I'm going to unlock the patch. I need to send a message to the buffer here, and I'm going to go ahead and write wave just to show you can write to Windows friendly and MATLAB friendly file formats. All right, let's click the button. This should bring up a file dialog, and here we have cluster of feedbacks. So now we've recorded it to the file, and how would I show that I've actually recorded this successfully? Well, there's a couple things that I can do. One is, let's go ahead and grab SF play, inside of Max. Oops. Let's grab a toggle. I was trying to copy it, but it didn't work so well. Where's the open object? Oh, I deleted it. New message. Open. And we'll just take it over to the volume here. Let's open the file. I want to open cluster, open it, and let's press play. Neat. So we have ourselves a recording. We're able to save it to the operating system and get it back into Max with the sfplay object. Well, what if you wanted to see that recording in order to play it? Well, as it turns out, we do have this recording. We're going to load the other recording into the buffer. And then we're going to use, so we're going to get another couple of in-outs here, because again, it's getting receive in. All right. Just the wires are getting all over the place. Let's go ahead and grab a playback object that uses that rather than playing back from the disk, it plays back from the buffer. So there's a couple objects. There's like Groove. I'm going to use Groove. Sweet. We've got Groove. Groove needs a bunch of help to play. We need something like, we need to generate a signal for it to run. Just move this guy out of the way because it's probably going to be a lot of interfacing here. We need a signal for it to run. And what else do we need for this to run? I think we need to like tell it like something like, I'm going to make this a little easier. We need to tell it something like start loop. Start loop. And I'm going to tell it to start loop at sample 0. And what else do I want? Oh, I would like some sort of reference to where I am in the file. So this guy outputs a loop. I believe it's from 0 to 1 that will output to the file. So I'm going to go ahead and it's a signal-based thing. So I need to get it down to event rate so I can use it more easily. I'm going to go ahead and use snapshots. I'm going to update it at like 33 milliseconds or so. And that should give me a floating point number, if I remember correctly. Oh, Groove isn't referring to anything at the moment. I need it to refer to a buffer, and I'm just going to reuse my recording. Okay. Oh, my recording has a file in it, or has audio in it, so it's already playing. So I'm going to stop that for a minute. Okay, so we can see this number moving along. I'm going to grab something like multi-slider or slider. I'm just going to use slider because it's less work for us. I'm going to turn it to the horizontal position, and I'm going to just scale it to the same size as the waveform display. And then I believe slider is a range of 0 to 127. Let's check. Yeah, 0 to 127. This is a range of 0 to 1, so we'll simply multiply by 127 point. This point is important because we want it to not round off that number coming in. All right, I'm going to move this over here, get that guy over there, and then I guess I'll route the patch cords a little bit. See if I can clean up this patch just a tiny bit. I'm not doing all my sexy layout stuff like I do with my own code, just to be quick about this. All right, so now if I start loop and play this back at 0, see it swell up. Great. So now we have a pretty decent reference point for our playback. And when we change and get a new file in here, what's the other one? Spooky. You can see this will start here at like 17 or 18. Right, so there we have a couple ways to record in Max and confirm the recordings were recorded in Max. We don't even have to necessarily go over to the operating system to confirm the recording. So the last thing I want to show you is how I'm getting the audio in real time out of Max into a recording system. And that is using something called Black Hole. There are a handful of products that do this. I believe Soundflower has been updated recently, but don't quote me on that. There's also some nice paid products that allow you to loop audio from one application to another. On the PC, you have like your VB audio or VB cable. It's a virtual audio cable of some sort that allows you to send audio out of Max into another tool like a DAW, or in this case OBS. And then let me, this might be a little dizzying. We're about to see a video feedback loop. And here we have the mic that I'm connected to, and then also audio capture that is, let's check out the properties of this guy. It's coming from Black Hole, the same virtual camera, virtual audio connection tool that Max is sending out. And then within this program OBS, if you go to Advanced Audio Properties, you can make it such that the audio coming in is then monitored. So now I can hear it in my headphones without having to have speakers or something like that that could potentially feed back into the microphone and create more complexity than intended. And then for convenience, I picked this trick up from Slink. If you uncheck 1 and 2, if you're recording like vocals or something else at the same time as recording your DAW, this trick allows you to record the when you record the movie, you're recording on 1 and 2 the voice, and then on 3 through 6 you're recording the other materials. So when you open up in like a video editor or an audio editor or something like this, it's actually separate, so you don't have the music and the vocals kind of smashed on top of each other, which could create an editing nightmare, especially if you have like a stutter like I do, or make lots of little goofy mistakes that you want to clean up in editing. Let's make sure we see that you can also record into a DAW. Now, this might create a couple of headaches on our side, but we'll see if we can do it live. All right, how many? Okay, we're gonna make Black Hole the input, external headphones the output. So this again should drive straight through. Let's test. Let's record monitor and go over to Max, and I'll see if I can just click the audio through. Check 1. Oh, nice, it works. So now I can record in my DAW. Testing 1, 2, 3 through some audio effects. Now that I see it recording, I'm going to go ahead and go over here and do like terrible awesome things. Then I'll go back to live and see that I stopped the recording. And then if I double click on this scene, you'll see that the little speech part at the beginning was like rather soft, and then the feedback was rather loud, but there we have ourselves a recording, which if I want to play through to you guys, let's just see if I can do it. Let's see if I can send this guy also into the virtual playback. Yeah, let's turn off the quantization so it just plays. Nice. So this should be playing into OBS so you can hear that we've made the recording in the DAW. close that. We don't need that. So there you have it. You can make all sorts of crazy, wonderful sounds in Max. You can record it in Max, so you can record files that you can then use in your DAW or your other projects. Or in real time, you can be recording the output of Max into OBS, into your DAW. I happen to be using Live, which there's one other way to record Max into Live if you have Suite and Max for Live. But for now, I think we'll leave it at that. You can make sounds, you can record sounds, and you can do all of the other awesome things that you do with sounds once they're recorded. All right, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.